Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So here we are on episode 21, the 764 files. I have two wonderful guests. I'm going to ask each one of my guests to please take a moment and introduce themselves. Guest number one.
Hi, I'm Cami Schoenfeld White. I'm here to discuss all things indie film. I've had a chance to stretch my wings in a couple of different facets, so I've learned a little bit about a lot of that little world there. And I'm also a toe deep involved with some of the local music scene as well. And I'll go ahead and hand it off to you.
I'm Kalvin Oudou. I'm lead singer of Howard's Cavalry and Space Drifters. Co-founder of Appalachian Apex and Appalachian Noise Fest.
Awesome. And you've got some pretty incredible shows that we're going to talk about. So I thought we would go ahead and open this show with the graphics that we have. Nick, let's pull up the first one. This is from our friend Jared Scher, right? Yes. Jared is wonderful to the local independent music scene. I know he does a lot of the graphics for the shows that go on in this whole region. He's also done our graphics for Ramirez Unraveled, as well as for Seven Arts Archives. So I think the world of Jared. So let's talk about High Horse Cavalry. Kalvin, tell me who's in the band, how long you guys have been together, and then we'll take a look at some of the flyers that we have.
We have Mark Flegel on drums, Christian Johnson on bass, Will Smith on lead guitar, and Rondo on rhythm guitar. I think it's probably been about 4 years, maybe, a little bit longer. Christian's been with me the longest for about 4 years, and then Mark and Rondo about 3 years.
No, you guys are a blast. I've seen you multiple times over the years. I always have a lot of fun at the shows that you guys do. Let's take a look at our next graphic, Nick. So you have a show coming up May 3rd. You want to go ahead and talk about everyone that's playing, talk about the venue, and give the whole audience the lowdown on the May 3rd show.
It's at the Depot in Baltimore. It's their anniversary show, and it's got Sparrowgrave, Mangog, Wrath of Typhon, Moonsinger, and then Howard's Cavalry. And Moonsinger is the one that's actually got us on the bill for that show. So starts at 8 o'clock, and not sure how long it actually goes on to.
Charles Street. I always loved Charles Street in Baltimore. It's a good street. All right, let's move on to our May 8th show. Let's talk about this one.
That's there's Shaughnessy's Pub down in Alexandria, Virginia. They've just recently, I think, started having bands. Very nice venue, very small, sectioned off. They try to go out of their way to help the bands out. We didn't set that show up, so I'm not sure the other bands. I know it's Endless Anomaly, and then I cannot remember the third band. It's on there, and I cannot read that flyer from here.
I got you. No, that's fine. Let's keep that graphic up. That's Jared, right?
That's Jared. Yeah, Jared still did the flyer for me. I just basically...
Cami, what do you think of that? Isn't that fucking badass? His stuff is, like, all of Jared's stuff is great. I was trying to make it out. I can see that there's a nuclear bomb going off in the eye, and it looks almost like some kind of GIMP mask, but I think it's like a gas mask or something. But no, Jared's, I've known Jared, we went to elementary school, high school, junior high school, and then college together. So, yeah, we've been friends pretty much our entire lives. All right, let's take a look at our next one. All right, and this is Jared.
That is Jared too. We don't tell Jared what to do. I just say, hey, I got a flyer for you to make, and he looks into all the bands and comes up with something where he thinks will go with it. So
I thought it was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
This is for the 2025 Appalachian Noise Fest. Cami, your thoughts on that image?
To me, that looks like something you need to reprint and get people to, like, put their autograph on.
I want a
personally.
T-shirt. I want a T-shirt of it. Yeah, it's fucking awesome. All right, let's go to the next one. And this one's all you, Kalvin. Let's talk about some of the lineup that you guys have going. Take your time with this and make sure you give everyone proper credit for everyone that's involved.
Listed here.
Do it.
So this year we are doing 3 days. We try to open Thursday from some of the more local bands. So Scratchmouth out of Cumberland is going to kick it off. And then Deluser.
Scratchmouth, that's Johnny Lethal, right? Is that
no, it's Ryan Dweller.
Okay.
He's been the Bad Habits once and did his solo stuff, and Scratchmouth is actually his band. So they're going to kick it all off, and then Deluser, who's been playing a lot around the area.
Who has also been on the show.
Yep.
There's the only one we've done, all 3 guys. We did them for Easter alien eggs or something like that. Go check them out. I love Deluser. Keep going.
And then Kellen Miller's band, Gray Matter Splatter. And then American Dharma, another great band. And then a band, I think they're out of PA. I'm not even sure if I say it right. Ikai Kosa. Those are Thursday bands. Now the first band goes on at 6:45. Last band starts at 10. Then Friday, it's going to kick off at 5 with Volumetric Thing out of Hagerstown. Big Hug. Then FYA, who's been playing a lot. And then Bag of Humans. They're coming from Baltimore area. If you haven't seen them, I suggest you go check them out. Very different. Even put saxophone into their music. So then my other band, the Space Drifters. And, of course, everybody knows the Do-Whats. And then end the night on Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. It was at last year's Appalachian Noise Fest. Saturday opens with Screamin' Mad D, which everybody knows. Spiral Grave was actually scheduled to be in it, but they had to drop out. So, and then Arm the Track, Sin Lung, really good band. I think they're from out of D.C. Roachzilla, Sons of Ghidorah, Hex Engine, Black Squatch. They're out of, I think, Ohio. Blaziner, another band. I say if you haven't seen them, you got to check them out. It's one of the most energetic shows I've sat and watched. So, and then Diddy's Gardens returning again from Cleveland. Then Trap Rat and High Horse Cavalry. Grave Next Door, I think they're coming somewhere from around the Michigan area. And then it'll end on the night with Disfigure, who's been around here for ever, it seems like. So they're in they didn't play last year, but this year
fantastic lineup. You guys got an incredible lineup.
Most of the bands get 40 minutes. Appalachian Apex gets no money from it. It's not all the money split goes to the bands. I know how.
And that's at Bad Habits, is here in Martinsburg. And which music organizations are involved in putting? Is this Grinding with Strangers?
Yeah, Grinding with Strangers. I got
which
them
is
to
Sarah
co-host
Jones
and Dave Rinkert.
Dave Rinkert.
So they co-host it. This year, besides me and Mark running sound, Jamie from the Do-Whats and Trap Rat's going to also help on sound, and Disfigure's going to run sound a little bit. We also got Christina does the merch. She's going to be there to run some merch. We got Big Rob. He's going to run the doors for me this year. And those dates are, it's not this coming weekend, but the middle of May. May 15th, 16th, and 17th. So, and how can people follow you online? We're on all the social media sites. As far as I know, we're all on all of them. I run the Facebook side. Mark runs the Instagram side. But I know, like, music-wise, we're on all the Bandcamp, all that, DistroKid. So High Horse Cavalry. Yes, and Space Drifters, too. So. I love Trap Rat, so I've been, I definitely want to get Rattus on the show at some point. So, Miss Cami, let's do a little deep dive on your history. So, Nick, let's we're gonna have some fun, and we're gonna talk Cami's cinematic past. And I wanted to start with 1995 Flickers, a silent romantic comedy by Robbie Chavez. I had just moved back from Baltimore, Maryland when this film was being made. I remember the guy with the beard. He was a local artist. I believe he suffered from mental illness. I can't remember his name.
And you've got me on that one. It's been, 30 years since we filmed that, but he was a fixture on downtown Market Street. And from what I remember, I feel like he was homeless. I know I'm going to probably get...
Oh, people will
Holler
remember
that
and
for
they'll
not
put his
remembering.
name. Please. I would love to remember his name. What did you do and how were you involved with Flickers? Let's talk about that.
So I had just graduated high school. It was the summer of '94, and my mom. I went to the Performing Arts High School in Frederick, VPA. What's up? Sorry.
Is that Thomas?
It was Thomas Johnson. Yes.
Okay.
And my mom actually had seen an article in a newspaper. Remember those things?
I remember, what was it that Frederick had? They had a little newspaper. I loved it. It wasn't city paper, but it was something like that. Anyway.
I don't know. I don't remember that one either. But yeah, so I looked into it and I had some headshots and I sent them in and they contacted me to come and audition. They said they'd already filled the main role but they did have a role for me and I was absolutely all about it. So I not just acted in it, but I got the opportunity to get my first taste of doing makeup. I assisted with makeup, and then I was also just a production assistant. Like he brought down a crew from New York. I think he went to school with a group of, they were going to film school. So they came down and it was the best time, absolute best time, and my first taste of film, aside from being an extra in something during high school. But yeah.
So that gave you the love of it, the bug. You wanted to do more. Let's take a look at the next image that we have, Nick. Let's talk about what you were involved with Crickfoot. Now, this is a Matt Burns. Is this Absurd Production? Who all was involved in this one?
So, Bone Johnson, this brilliant director, he put this together. He made contact with Matt, and Matt is basically the network. If they're, instead of the phone book, it's the Matt book.
Yeah.
Because he connects everybody with everybody. So he would hit everyone up and say, hey, are you interested? Matt would. Are you interested in doing this? This is the premise of it. And then he would line us up. So this was all remote. Basically, we got the idea of what his story idea was, and we filled in the blanks with our own little snippets of storyline based off of Bone Johnson's, grand scheme of this hot dog eating cryptid. And he masterfully pieced it all together, and it is brilliant. I can't say enough about this. I always hear him say that he wanted for people to know that you can do film for free. Everything he used, every editing program was free, he found. So if you get a chance to talk to Bone Johnson or have him in, he lives up in northern PA somewhere, but you've got to get him in here. He's great.
Absolutely.
He's absolutely brilliant.
And yeah, cool. Let's go to the next one. Brazen Impact, which of course is long. We love Donna and Mark Byrne of Absurd Productions. Matt's involved with them. So let's talk about your relationship with Brazen Impact.
So in fact, Brazen Impact was my introductory to Matt and not Matt. Sorry, Burns.
Mark and Donna
Burns. I'm sorry.
No.
And basically, I think they had, I'm always a last minute emergency phone call. Our actor fell out. Can you come in and do this? All right, let's do this. So last minute we went in and we did a scene, and I'm just like a receptionist. But it was my first exposure into the group, so to speak, on the acting front after 30 years of not being in the film or acting scene for a while. I took some time off to raise some babies.
And that time you loved film. You still love film. Yeah. So getting back and doing it is,
Yeah, and absolutely, Mark and Donna are the best. I love them. I've gotten to work on a few of their projects through doing makeup and stuff like that. So
let's talk a little bit. I'd only mentioned it with Shannon, your friendship with Shannon, and let's talk about where she's at with Sibylla 6, because I think most people are excited about that.
Oh yeah.
So
I know very little about Sibylla 6. I know it looks exciting. I was not included with any of that, but I'm super supportive, and I can't wait to see it because it just looks polished from what I've seen. And just talking with Shannon, I know it's going to be amazing. So
I very much, I hope to have Shannon on the show. I'd mentioned something when I saw her in Waynesboro, maybe a little bit, when she's closer, but I wish her well with the project, as with all our local indie film people.
There's a lot of excitement about that one. I'm equally as excited for that.
She's got an interesting cast. I know she's put a lot of really interesting people in it.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at our next image. Still number 10. This is you from the Brazen Impact.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Where did you guys shoot at? And let's talk about what that day was in Hagerstown.
Yeah.
What was that shoot like?
So it was, I believe it was a weekend. It was, so the office building was shut down for the day, basically. One of the other gal who was shooting, I was her secretary in this, and I'm really a bad person because I don't remember her name. I'm sorry. But we went in and it just kind of shot the scenes and we're in and out. It was pretty quick, but it was neat to kind of be in an empty office building.
Now, I've been on set, scene or whatever with Mark once when they were doing Remnants. They were shooting in the basement at the Let There Be Rock School. Matt asked me if I would shoot some back footage of the, so I went down and I did a little bit of shooting for them. And then I did a little bit more we did a little bit for Matt for that Head on the Writer's Block.
Okay.
We shot some scenes for him.
Okay. Very good. That. So you're getting your wings.
Well, we don't look to do. I mean, if Matt asks, I'm like one of the Matt asks. Okay, like everybody else.
You guys want to do?
Yeah, no.
Okay, I guess I'll take that out of my filing cabinet in my head.
Let's go ahead to our next one, Nick. And let's talk about this one. I thought the graphics on it were awesome.
Now, during the COVID shutdowns, Matt was sending out information, and a couple of these that you were bringing up tonight are one of those are remote. So basically, you get an idea, they tell you what you want, what they would like, and then you send it in, and if they like it, they use it, and if they don't, they don't. This one was like a Natasha Knightley's Boudoir of Blood, loosely based around like an Elvira kind of idea, and then having campy commercials to play as if it was a TV show. So I submitted a commercial because they wanted the cheesy 1980s kind of commercials, the infomercial type commercials. So that was kind of fun because it was my first experience of doing it on my own.
Yeah.
Like having to use my phone, having to get a little more acquainted with the technology that we have at our hands. And then writing a little commercial and sending it off. And they did use it.
No, that's awesome.
So that was fun.
Is that our next image, the Crystal Fox?
Yes. So you're an old Frederick person. Do you remember Foxcraft, the store?
Yes. Yes. And I remember the guy that ran it. What was his name? He had this
Sterling is what everyone knows him by.
Sterling.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you remember the girl that worked there?
Which one?
When they first opened it, there was, I can't remember her name, but she had a child with a friend of mine named Bubby Lewis. But they opened that store
Okay.
together. She disappeared out of the scene
Okay.
after the baby. But anyway,
So then I
That was a
probably
billion years
didn't
ago.
know that I met her.
Yeah.
Because I think it was just Sterling's or Galen's
I
at the
remember
time.
Galen. Yeah, that's the name I remember.
Right.
Go
So, they had Foxcraft was a sister store of a store that still exists in Laurel called the Crystal Fox. So one of the things they wanted was a commercial of a psychic, and I'm like, I can do that. So my little scene was of a psychic reading tarot cards, and I couldn't think of a name. I was like, come on. And all I could think of was Crystal Fox. Like, it was perfect.
Yeah, no.
Nice plug, though. Hey,
No.
right, Galen? Oh, sorry.
No, that's funny. Are you still friends with him?
Yeah.
I haven't heard his
Actually,
name.
Farang, who you had last week,
Yes.
is friends with them, too, and has actually worked with them.
Wow.
With some of his small world, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't heard his name since the 90s. Yeah, or even that place. That's funny. So this brings us to, let me hit up the board. Is the board ready?
Yeah.
I love the board. Wait, let's do one more. I like that one too. Cami, I want to thank you. This is our first viewer suggested show, so that's fantastic. And you took me down a rabbit hole that I truly wasn't expecting. To get ready for this show today, I watched the one video that we're going to be watching clips in, and it definitely made me think, well, I need to see her part 1 and her part 3. So I'm going to ask you first how you became aware of this story before we look at any videos. How did this become a rabbit hole that you fell down?
So, your suggestion of the one character you'll be talking about in future episodes.
We can Elliot Rodge. Elliot
right.
Rodge. I'm fascinated by Elliot Rodge.
Right. So I was watching it, and I kind of just picked up on something that he was part of. Like, he had a huge online presence, and he was part of some suspect kind of websites, and one of them was this website, and I just kind of followed the rabbit hole, kept going, and realized it is way more sinister and scary to know that it's not just a conspiracy, but it's happening.
Real. It's having an impact.
Yeah.
Kalvin, had you heard of the 764 cult
I had
prior?
not,
So
until you sent the clips.
So
and then I looked
this
and
was
started
new
reading it.
too.
Yeah.
Okay. Nick, let's go ahead, and we picked one clip from one channel. So let me plug that channel before we watch this real quick. Give me 1 second here. I know I screenshotted some information today.
Get my list out. I'm such a nerd.
All right. The channel that we're watching this clip from is called BX Investigations. She has a 3-part series on this subject. Also, if you put the name Kyle Spitz in, you're going to find him in a lot of different storytellers. But this is from BX Investigation. This is part 2, the 764, the darkest corner of the web. We're going to look at a roughly, what do I got queued up there? 3-minute clip. And then we're going to do a round on
respective
this.
political ideologies against each other in an attempt to spread chaos and accelerate societal collapse. Of course, this tactic of division, which is reminiscent of the Operation Gladio era strategy of tension, is already widely used by far greater threats than fringe accelerationist domestic terror cells. But these domestic terror cells have been growing bigger and stronger and getting better at what they do. So, in my opinion, they're worth more than just a fleeting mention in an occasional news story. Jade Parker was a counterterrorism researcher who formerly worked in in military intelligence. After doing a lot of research and blowing the whistle on the emerging accelerationist terror threat and trying desperately to get her higher-ups to pay attention to it, she was smeared and ousted from her field by gatekeeping colleagues. She took to Twitter to air her grievances, and she shared a document she called her Dead Man Switch, and she claimed to have used her research to determine the identity of the person who planted the bomb on Capitol Hill on January 5th, the day before the January 6th Capitol riot. Then shortly after that, Jade went dark. Short side note to let y'all know that Jade Parker is alive. I won't go into too many details, but just so you know, she is alive, she's in hiding, and she has a really good reason for wanting to stay that way. One of the accelerationist groups that Jade worked to expose is an obscure satanic neo-Nazi cult called the Order of Nine Angles. And in this video, I'm going to break down that cult's relationship to the satanic pedophilia network 764. Back in January of 2024, the world had become aware of Kyle Spitz after a viral video began circulating on the platform formerly known as Twitter, which I still call Twitter out of sheer stubbornness. In the video, Kyle lay on his bed, a laptop in his lap, when an unkempt middle-aged man lunged into the open doorway.
Get ready for this goddamn brain job right fucking now.
Stop it!
Blow my brains out.
No! Stop it! Stop it!
Sue me, I guarantee you'll go to jail for life.
I'm tired of shit.
You're gonna blow my
I
mom?
ain't doing
You're gonna
anything
blow my
wrong.
mom's brains out? Point that gun at me again.
No. You just fucking hit him? Did he hit you? Oh my god! You're going.
It was a simple 54-second video, offered by many large accounts on Twitter with no context. Salty Cracker, a large YouTube channel, featured a breakdown of the video which was aptly titled, "Family that looks like a bunch of meth addicts shoot each other."
Everybody in this household, except for that dog, is fucking stupid. Blammo! Holy shit!
The sudden virality of this short, out-of-context video made sense. It was the perfect length. There was a lot going on. Kyle's provocation of a deranged gunman, leading him to get grazed in the ear by a bullet, the mother with her pants down at her ankles, the all-too-perfect freeze frame of the bullet leaving the barrel, and the blood drops on the floor. But most importantly, the group of influencers who shared it on Twitter and their followers had no shortage of funny comments and memes to make about the situation. Law and Crime Sidebar host Jesse Weber was quick to secure an interview with Kyle Spitz, where he revealed
Go ahead
that
and
the
bring
shooter
it down.
was
So we'll start with the opening because Kyle Spitz leads into some really scary stuff. So as I had said to you earlier, I was familiar with the Kyle Spitz clip. I think most people have seen it in some capacity or not. So pick up on...
First time I've seen it.
Oh, is it the first time you've ever seen it? Wow. Wow.
So I'll be honest. I'm a holdout for hard copy. The most technology I have is my phone.
Mm-hmm.
So when I did not realize that her pants dropped down to her ankles. Okay, I couldn't see that on my phone, so that was my audible reaction when it's full sized. I can actually see it. So honestly, this is my first time being exposed to him. So I'm not sure who it is, but I had a landline to my house up to like 5 years ago. So
Kyle it gets directly connected to the 764 from this incident because of his virality. People start coming on that you're a pedophile, you groom children.
Yeah.
So he gets exposed. We'll pick the video up. Were you familiar with Kyle Spitz before? Had you ever seen the video
No,
of the?
I had never seen it, but
of the.
kind of like Cami, I don't watch a lot of the social media stuff, so that was the first time I'd seen it.
I clearly, I mean, we have a YouTube channel. I love YouTube. I spend way too much time on YouTube. I can't remember exactly where I saw it, but for some reason I thought I'd seen it on something like Active Self-Protection. But yeah, that's an amazing clip. Let's pick up. This is another Kyle Spitz clip. This happens not too long after this incident. So we're going to move the time forward in the same video. And we're going to watch about 2
minutes. But it just so
minutes.
happens that for several months prior, my small independent research team and I had been closely following news of a fringe online community known as 764. This group, which could accurately be characterized as a cult, consisted of pseudo-satanic predators who groomed kids they found online into committing sadistic acts of self-harm, animal abuse, and even suicide on camera. The videos were used to extort their young victims into producing increasingly more extreme content. It may start with a nude photo or a sexual act that the underage victim sends to the abuser. The abusers then extort the victim into committing increasingly evil acts. They'd order them to cut their abuser's name into their bodies, a sign of ownership known as a cut sign. They would order them to slaughter their house pets under the threat of murdering their entire families if they refused to comply. They would get the young victims on live Discord calls and give them instructions on how to find the most lethal combination of pills from their parents' medicine cabinets. These predators find their child victims in places most parents believe are safe online spaces for kids. They lure them from gaming platforms like Minecraft and Roblox and messaging platforms like Discord. They even utilize social media platforms like Twitter and Instagram, utilizing hashtags adopted by niche communities dedicated to self-harm and eating disorders. These communities serve as rich victim pools where predators hunt for kids that are already vulnerable in order to further exploit them. 764 is only one such group in a sprawling network of interrelated communities known as COM. When placed on a mind map, COM looks more like an octopus than an organized network of splinter cells, with tentacles that encompass a wide range of cybercriminal activity. There's Hacking Com, full of script kiddies willing to dox, swat, and commit other cybercrimes for money. They may, for example, call in a bomb threat to a school for a disgruntled student who was able to pay them. There's also an animal abuse side of Com. And then there's Extortion Com, which relies on the hackers and overlaps with 764, whose members hack and extort their victims in order to fulfill their motives. Com also has
Go ahead and
significant...
bring it down. Yep. We'll pick it up again. So, please, Cami, how did you, what bothers you, what concerns you, what experiences have you had with this?
Roblox, Minecraft, and Discord. Caleb, I think I'm going to have to look at your phone when I get home. No, I'm kidding. I have a 16-year-old.
Yeah,
That's my youngest.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the age where I think these guys were focusing on, because a lot of the research I've done since seeing this initially, they were the leaders, the team leaders of these sinister things are early to mid 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like targeting these younger kids, and that's like the prime age for my 16-year-old. And so that's terrifying, knowing that my son spent a lot of time on those pages and talking in the group chats. It's just terrifying knowing that they have that access into your home.
I think the one thing terrifying too with teens is we all know that teenagers have an ability to keep a secret like none other. So, I can understand, I can definitely understand parental concerns for those kind of things. What's your take on the video that we just watched, Kalvin?
I knew a little bit about that from the kids I work with.
Yeah. Please share.
Because they get on Discord and they get on all that kind of stuff. So, and they've kind of mentioned that those things were going around, like the videos of people getting people to kill themselves and stuff. So it's like kind of scary because they can be easily influenced by them. And the way you hear them talk about some of the ones that are leaders of the little groups, and not necessarily that group, but just any group that's formed to play games, they worship them. It's like they think they're like the coolest person there is, so they fall into the wrong one. I think we all know that children are easily led astray. Now, one of the things when this first opened up, that it was the first time that I had heard about accelerationist, right? If you know me at all, I'm a serious prepper. The whole thing the conspiracy theory come from being a prepper. So to think that, wow, there's actually people out there that are trying to accelerate society's collapse, to cause chaos. And then you start thinking, well,
could these be foreign actors? Or, well, I mean, is this Russia, China, just the more chaos that I cause inside of my enemy's country, the better. It's untraceable to them. It looks like, it's just organic. So I thought that was a real fascinating aspect of that, to realize that there's resources being pumped into it.
Terrorists,
yeah. In a whole different capacity,
Yep.
Yeah. Nick, can we take a look at how many clips did I say we would take? One more. Okay, this is it. Yeah.
Mom, Melanie Spitz, had died, and that Kyle had posted disturbing videos in his Telegram group of the incident. In the source's opinion, the Telegram post indicated that Kyle Spitz had murdered his mother. The source additionally claimed to have evidence that Spitz had been extorting women to cut themselves since 2016, and that he was in possession of a large quantity of child pornography. The video Spitz had posted to his Telegram channel was disturbing, to say the least. In it, he stands over his dead mother's body, while she lies on her back. Her hair seems to have been deliberately swept over her face. There appears to be blood on the face underneath her hair. The body appears to have been moved from the bed to the ground, and the bed has a large human-shaped stain of what appears to be fresh blood. The bed sheets are crumpled up and soaked in blood. On the floor next to Melanie Spitz's body is a Narcan inhaler, which contains a medication used to treat opioid overdoses. At times, in between sobs, it sounds as if Kyle's stifling maniacal laughter, and at one point he appears to grope his dead mother's breasts. Kyle holds up his blood-soaked hand, revealing a bracelet which matches the one in a recent Instagram post on an account known to belong to him, which helped confirm his identity. What I saw appeared to be the aftermath of a murder. So, after I confirmed the evidence to be credible, I contacted the authorities in order to share the evidence with law enforcement. At that time, the agent told me that he had spoken with the Friendsville, Tennessee police and confirmed Melanie Spitz was deceased. He also elaborated that the cause of death was suicide. I found it unusual that police would convey this information prior to completing the investigation into her death. They also said that they were aware of Kyle's online activities, that he had posted a picture of Melanie Spitz's dead body on Instagram, and they acknowledged that it was a strange thing to do. That's the last I would hear from authorities on the matter. Melanie's cause of death was eventually revealed to be a lethal dose of fentanyl. The massive, unsurvivable quantity of blood, they told us, came from a ruptured esophagus, the consequence of years of alcoholism. With the police informed and Melanie Spitz's death confirmed, I made a post on X at the request of the victims, who were desperate to get eyes on the situation. The next day, as the tweet continued to garner attention, I began to receive threats from accounts associated with 764. An individual with the moniker Acid sent threats to me on Twitter in an attempt to prevent me from talking about Kyle and his mother publicly.
Yeah. So, wow. Wow. And this, also with Kyle Spitz and the family, when I was getting ready for the show, it gets even weirder because they go back to some kind of connection to a weird CIA some kind of military contractor. The mother worked for a military contractor, and I'm happy that they showed the drug use because he's eating Xanax, right? That's Xanax. That's they're called Xanny bars. He had a lot of Xanny bars in his mouth, and in the opening scene, I kept thinking, God damn, he sounds fucked up. But anyway, I've dealt with addicts for a long time. But your thoughts on the last clip that we saw?
It's jarring because I'm seeing elements of things that are maybe a little too close to home that I'm comfortable with, and of course there is that whole element of there are too many, too nicely wrapped up into a bow with the cover-ups and things like that. So
yeah.
Of course, my mind always questions
because the stepfather commits suicide when the police show up, and so the guy that pulls the gun and fires the gun on Kyle Spitz, the stepfather dies by his own hand a couple hours in. So now you have the dead stepfather, and you now have his dead mom. Let alone the fact that he's live streaming the crime scene, death scene, whatever you want to call it. He has very poor boundaries. he's a fucked up individual, and I could definitely see him being a very dangerous person.
You do drugs like that, and you're easily influenced.
Right.
You know, that's why I think they allow a lot of drugs into the country, and they look the other way because, again, easy to control.
Easy to control.
Yeah.
Easy to control. Kalvin, your thought on the whole mother scene?
No, it's just scary to see, you know, because like when other kids watch it, they don't necessarily understand that it's kind of an evil thing. They think it's just, I don't think they can separate it to where what's real and not real necessarily.
Right.
So then they start falling, and then they kind of fall down in the rabbit hole, but in a wrong direction. It just leads them completely the opposite way.
I always tended to mock and make fun of Satanism and all of that growing up. Even though I would, use it in art or whatever, I never wanted it to have any real power to me psychologically, right? I don't know how much I want to believe in magic. I've always enjoyed, I don't need to believe in magic. I know that the world has enough evil in it that I'll just deal with the evil I see in front of me. I don't have to worry about ghosts or make believe. But I definitely see a lot of evil things being done, especially with with Satanism. Like they'll use that to justify stupidity. One of my favorite films is indie film, right? If we're going to talk independent horror, I think it's 1995. It's this film called My Sweet Satan. It's maybe 20 minutes long by an incredible filmmaker named Jim Van Beber out of Dayton, Ohio. Did it all with his friends, you know what I mean? Like it's like a Matt Burns kind of thing. But he does a retelling of the Ricky Casso story, which is a true crime book called My Sweet Satan, where he kills this young boy in the name of Satan, and they're all deranged out of their mind on acid. And he redoes the story like to the 90s. It's a brilliant film. Won New York Underground Film and Video Festival the first year. It did real well. It's a really cool cult classic.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, you'd love
if
it.
I can find it.
Yeah.
I think, for our, Generation X, like, it was, we're coming out of the satanic panic.
Yeah.
So those rebellious of us, we kind of were like, ooh, that's bad. That's what we're going to embrace. And now it's almost like it's become trendy. So.
Trendy. Even worse than trendy. Bad fashion. Mainstream fashion. Mainstream fashion.
Please
too.
don't hate me, but
Yeah.
I
expect to see Katy Perry at the Church of Satan or something. I don't know.
I think, but we can perpetuate, and I think that's an energy people are committing to lately, and it's terrifying. Have you seen the drivers on the roads lately? Like, it used to be you'd have one that's driving like a madman. Now you've got a whole. You're the odd man out if you're not driving like a madman.
Now, Cami, downstairs, you told me you heard about one of these guys getting arrested. So let's bring the 764 thing to a close.
Yeah.
Our final thoughts on that. And, yeah.
So just doing last minute, research at work today, I saw that April 30th, 2025, that was yesterday, 2 men arrested and charged potentially for a life sentence. Leonidas Varaganis, 21, and Prajan Nepal, 20, targeting vulnerable people, including children, with tactics designed to induce self-harm. The Department of DOJ, Department of Justice, said in a statement both were also involved in making and distributing, I'm not sure, CSA. We're not allowed to say it anymore, are we? I don't know.
We are, because we're non-monetized child
sexual abuse material, which was...
CP is what they usually refer to.
Okay, cool.
CP.
I don't know this.
We're not monetized, so I think we're okay with actually saying the words.
But, yeah, and then trading among the group members.
Right.
So it was just there's a huge... The COM... umbrellas a bunch of sites like this one, and they've been perpetuating evil. That's it.
Perpetuating online.
Yeah, destroying from within our own homes.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
terrifying.
Yeah, mind viruses.
But they got 2 of them.
2 of them, right. And that's the one thing with the internet is there's no real anonymity. They can trace you. Kalvin, your final thoughts on the 764?
It's just, like I said before, it's just scary. I mean, just how influenced they can be. Because they're going to have a strong influence sometimes than the people in the kids' lives. So
I wanted to close this with there was one. I studied psychology. I was thinking about this on the ride over here. I studied psychology in the 80s, right? So that means, like, I literally studied the school of psychology of the early part of the 20th century. Like, I studied fucking Freud, Carl Jung, Skinner, all of this. And I'm thinking I studied the science of the early part of the 20th century. So here we are now, almost 100 years past that psychology, that science. So I'd be curious to know where we're at, but I know that we've gotten to some real scary places with the ability to manipulate, and move humans in ways that we want. Nick, let's play that Milgram experiment. I think this is from the 60s.
A decade earlier, psychologist Stanley Milgram had also looked at how we respond to authority. In order to understand how people were induced to obey unjust regimes and participate in atrocities such as the Holocaust, he set up an experiment. Volunteers were told they were taking part in scientific research to improve memory.
Would you open those and tell me which of you is which, please? Teacher. Where? Teacher.
Separated by a screen, the teacher would ask the learner questions in a word game and administer an electric shock when the answer was incorrect. He was told to increase the voltage with each wrong answer.
Cloud, horse, rock, house. Answer. Wrong. 150 volts. Answer, horse.
Experiment, that's all. Get me out of here. Get me out of here, please.
Continue, please. Go right on.
I refuse to go on. Let me out.
Refuses to go on. The experiment requires you continue, teacher. Please continue.
Participants didn't know that the learner was really an actor and the so-called shocks harmless.
You're gonna get a shock. 180 volts.
I can't stand the pain. Let me out of here.
Can't stand it. I'm not gonna kill that man there. I mean, who's going to take the responsibility if anything happens to that gentleman? I'm responsible for anything that happens here. Continue, please. All right, next one. Slow. Walk, dance, truck, music.
2/3 of volunteers were prepared to administer a potentially fatal electric shock when encouraged to do so by what they perceived as a legitimate authority figure. In this case, a man in a white coat.
375 volts. I think something's happened to that fellow in there. I don't get no answer. He was hollering a less voltage. Can't you check in and see if he's all right, please?
Milgram's findings horrified America. They showed that decent American citizens were as capable of committing acts against their conscience as the Germans had been under the Nazis.
That's kind of the core of 764, someone online being your authority, telling you, what to do. So, no.
What was that experiment they did up? It was like the Stanford experiment where they put the jailers and the prisoners in there, and eventually they had to stop it because the jailers became almost torturous to the prisoners. It's like the Stanford experiment. It's almost like that.
You like that one?
Yeah. I think they made a movie about that too. Yeah. So I think, I've
all
seen that one.
All I can think about with those electric shocks were the beginning sequence of Ghostbusters, though.
Yes.
We're not getting to see it.
Squiggly lines.
One of the ones I remember in college, like learning about it, and at some point I hope to incorporate it into a show, but they did these things with baby rhesus monkeys, right, where they would raise these monkeys without their mothers, and they would make an artificial mother, and they would wrap it in terry cloth, and they would have one mother that was just like a wire mother with the milk. and that the monkey would go over and only feed and then go back to the little bit of mother that gave her warmth. And of course, all the little baby monkeys that they did this to became incredibly fucked up, and they tried to put them back into little recessed monkeys, and they would again engage in all these horrific behaviors. They basically created serial killers by what they were doing. So,
sociopaths.
Right, yeah. Think about that,
A whole generation of them.
Yeah, and we were talking about drugs earlier. That's what happens to all of those homes. They're raised without parents, without any parental units. Well, this has been, though that part was fairly down and depressing, but no, this has been one hell of a rabbit hole, Cami.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that.
Anytime.
I appreciated you coming on the show. I want you to know it is an open invitation. I'd love to have you back. You've mentioned other friends you would like to have on with you.
Yep.
We don't always have to do conspiracy. Yesterday we did our first non-conspiracy episode with Faces of the Undead. We had a great conversation with them.
It was great. I did.
I hope everyone check it out. Yeah, check it out. Kalvin, please plug a couple of things before we close this night.
Again, this weekend, Space Drifters are at Bad Habits on Friday night. High Horse Cavalry's at the Depot. We also, which just released some of the details, talking about Jared Shearer. In August, we are doing Jared Palooza.
I saw that.
And it's all things celebrate Jared. Any band that's had a logo made by Jared can come on the bill. They just got to contact me. Jared's also asked the Downstrokes. He personally wanted them on there. He's actually wanted you involved in it, Don, because he said he said he's done stuff.
All our logos,
he said he wanted you
involved.
involved.
Bunch of our flyers, yeah.
So that's going to be August 23rd at Bad
We'd
Habits.
love to.
So
as soon as he's got graphics, we'll start promoting it.
Yep.
Yeah. I've of course asked Jared on the show, but he doesn't want to.
He likes being behind the
behind the scenes. So this has been fantastic, and I look forward to doing more things like this. Cami, I wish you well in all of your endeavors.
You.
Keep us posted on any projects you have.
Thank you.
Anything you want us to plug or promote, we'll definitely do it.
All right, I do have one last thing that I should
shoot,
say.
please.
Lots of words. A real easy way to end situations like we just watched. Parents, take your children to shows, to concerts, to music.
Yes.
Stay in the arts. Get them active.
Get them out of the phones. Get out of your phone.
Amen.
Get out of your phone.
And I'm excited to take them to a punk show.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, come out to Noise Fest. They'll have a great time. The Appalachian Noise Fest.
It's only $10 a day. So
only $10 a day.
Band, so
I love American Dharma. That's Chris McKinley. I've known Chris forever. He's great. There's a bunch of killer bands on the bill. I plan on coming out at least Saturday night, maybe Friday and Saturday. Nick, take us out.